Hi, everyone. I'm thrilled to have a very special guest with us today, Gyan Lakshmi, technology geek, innovator, keynote speaker, community builder, collaborator, having over 8 years of experience in the technology sector with a deep passion for emerging technologies. Gyan has made significant contributions as a relentless technology enthusiast, both in Web2 and most importantly in Web3 world. Today, we will be diving into her journey into the world of developer relations, as well as her work within Starknet ecosystems and the innovations that they're building, and her incredible efforts in promoting diversity and inclusion within Web3 community. Without further ado, let's welcome Gyan. Hello there.
Hello, Sophia, and thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited for this today.
Same. I'm super excited as well, super thrilled. And let's start with the first question. So, can you tell me a little bit more about the journey into the world of developer relations? So, I know that you started as a developer first, but what basically pushed you towards DevRel advocating? When did you decide, okay, I want to become a DevRel?
Awesome. So I actually did my bachelor's in technology in computer science back in 2012 is when I graduated. I'm quite old compared to all the Gen Z DevRels. But I always wanted to be in the space of education. I used to be an educator even back in college, when we used to huddle together, have like these, study groups where, I used to teach other people like, hey, tomorrow's an exam, let's get together, study and stuff like that. So there used to be one person who's always teaching the syllabus and stuff, and that by default used to be me. So I was always into like the education space, even when I got into software engineering in 2012 as an associate software engineer. I worked with for 6 years as software engineer. I was also like parallelly doing a lot of workshops. I was volunteering for an organization called Women Who Code, with whom I started working a bit later on. And I used to do a lot of workshops on like HTML, CSS, how to build your first I'm saying, for how to build your first app using JavaScript and stuff like that. So for me, I felt like DevRel was more of a natural sort of role, because after 6 years of software engineering, I actually quit my job because I wasn't happy with what I was doing, and I wanted to find something at the intersection of like my passion, which was education, and then at the with growing technology. How can I contribute amidst both of these? So I tried and experimented with a lot of different roles. Actually, was the CTO of two startups, one in Web2 called Trustin, which is still running, which was a software product for basically sexual harassment. There is a law in India called POSH, Prevention of Sexual Harassment, and we automated that into a software product called Trustin. That was my first sort of company, something that I co-founded or worked with another person. So I was a CTO and I built most of the tech product over there. And then I was a CTO of another Web3 startup called Coin Fantasy, which is also running now. It exists, and I built a lot of the technology for that core product as well. But both of these roles didn't satisfy me as much, because after a point in time as a CTO, you're just focusing on the tech, or you're just focusing on your product. And for me, it was more about like, hey, I want to work with the ecosystem, like I want to work in the education space. So I naturally kind of started working with other startups, building content for them. I was an ambassador for several different protocols in Web3 between 2016 and 2021. So almost 4 or 5 years, I did a lot of content work, just even by myself. I used to like recording videos and stuff like that. And and then I got into Starknet in actually Starkware in 2023 as their DevRel. And I got engaged into their ecosystem in 2022. I really liked their ecosystem, and I kind of liked all of the different things that were happening, like future of tech, value alignment, and all of that. And I figured that, yeah, I'll take the position. So for me, I felt like DevRel was more not like a DevRel, but it was just a natural kind of role that I was into. Even our team is actually not called the developer relations team. It's actually called the education team. in
Mm.
Starknet, because everyone in my team is passionate about educating others. And the fact that we do work well with devs, as in we are slightly extroverted but like introverted at home kind of people. So it works well to be a developer relations where we are educating developers and also are able to kind of maintain a relationship with them, help them debug, help them take their product to the next level and things like that. But yeah, I felt like I wasn't looking for a DevRel role, because honestly, back then, like 2015, 2016, when I was doing a lot of these things, it wasn't so popular. It was just a thing that people used to do on their side because they were passionate about it. And then there were different perks associated with it, that even in Web2, if you were a good speaker, you knew about the technology, you were invited to speak at conferences and such, and you were paid for it. Like, but with this DevRel role, I think it's become more like solidified that, hey, like, you can have a presence on stage if you have that ability to teach and stuff like that. And definitely much required in Web3. The education part of it is like, just it's the most important first touch point that developers have with an ecosystem. And if they have a good experience, then they will continue to stick with the ecosystem. So yeah, that's pretty much been my journey. Not very conventional. It is very like yeah, it's very like all over the place, but it's been very satisfying to get here finally.
Absolutely. And I think you said that you were not specifically looking for a DevRel role, but I think DevRel role found you itself. So, because you've been, as you've already described, educator by heart. And it's like, it's really hard to imagine a person working as a DevRel who is not willing to share insights and what's going on and how to things. And I think you're doing it amazingly within any job that you've done so far. But since I know you through my interactions with Starknet ecosystem, of course, I can see how much of an impact you're doing on the ecosystem and builders within the ecosystem. So yeah, you already touched a little bit on why Starkware, why you're working in it, because of the values that you're sharing. Maybe can you a little bit more explain what exactly you like about Starkware and Starknet ecosystem? And maybe can you share some insights and upcoming developments in the ecosystem so that people come and build? How do you see this technology evolving in the next few years? And yeah, I know that there was a Starknet CC, the biggest, I guess, conference within Starknet ecosystem. So maybe you can also give us a little bit of TLDR where Starknet is going right now.
Sure. So my journey with the Starknet ecosystem started in 2022, which was exactly 2 years from now, before from now. I met the team at ECC. There was a hackathon by Encode Club, and I was a part of the hackathon. And I was like, our team was the only all-women team, and I was kind of like, I have always been into diversity since early 2000. So I've been working with a lot of different groups and all of that. And my mom has also been working with a lot of diverse groups. So I get a lot of this, from her as well, the passion to kind of help people. But yeah, I was really like, I was like, oh my God, like, what is this? There are no women in this hackathon, like, in these teams. What is this happening and stuff? And I kind of started with this motivation that, like, ours is an all girls team, so we have to win. Like,
Mhm.
that was the motivation. So then we sort of started studying Starknet a lot during the hackathon. And then we did emerge successfully as one of the top three winners. But what I really liked about their team at that point in time was like, I think people were very welcoming. They were also very like, oh my God, like there is a, all women's team. We have to support them. And, we have to, make sure that they get all the help that they need. And I was there was one of the members from Starkware, and he literally sat like for hours together with me to just debug stuff, and which was really nice. Like he just gave me a lot of attention, not because I was the only woman there, but because of the fact that I was interested in learning. Like I was just asking him a lot of questions, and even though I was feeling like they were stupid questions, he never made me feel that. And I felt like this ecosystem is very like open and welcoming, and they are very new. So for me, it felt like, oh, like from an educator perspective, my radar was like, oh, maybe they need like someone to create a lot of educational content for them. Maybe I can work on that. I've already started exploring their ecosystem and stuff. So I started talking to like a lot of different people over there, like in terms of how can I help them create some content. They were very open about, open and welcoming about like, hey, if you want to build stuff, you want to build tutorials, you're most welcome. We have like a small builders grant that we're also ready to offer. So I overall just really like the ecosystem. And I also like the fact that over a period of time, as I got to know different people from the ecosystem, for me, one of the biggest value alignments in Web3 is like the decentralization part of it, which is why even after a lot of ups and downs that I have been in Web3 for over 7, 8 years now, like there's been a lot of crazy stuff that happened. And I feel like even after a lot of things that didn't go right, I'm still in the ecosystem because of the value alignment that, people should have a voice. And Web3 kind of gives you that. People should have a power to have a say in decision making if they want to, right? So I feel like these some of these core values really match with the values of the people there. And that kind of got me into the ecosystem. And they also we did a hacker house in India in September through my community, the Phoenix Guild, and they supported us with a small grant to do a workshop on Starknet and stuff. So they were very supportive, and I kind of liked that. And in December, my now boss finally convinced me to join them full time. I was skeptical of joining any Web3 company full time because I felt like the work pressure will be too much. And I just wanted to have that contractual role, so if I need to get out, then I can just like get out and do the things that I want to do. But I finally sort of, got convinced by him and joined Starkware full time in Feb 2023. Starknet CC is one of our biggest conferences, like you mentioned. And this year we had a lot of interesting announcements made during Starknet CC. One of the, of course, biggest ones for the community is restaking or staking actually. And then anything else on top can be just like built excitingly. So staking will be enabled in Q4 this year, and everyone's kind of looking forward to it. I think a lot of people got like good airdrops and stuff during provision. So they can stake their tokens and kind of work with that. A few other cool announcements that we made earlier, Stockware made earlier this year, is being able to fund Bitcoin research. So OPCAT is the opcode that will help sort of have smart contracts on Bitcoin blockchain. And Starknet is kind of poised to become one of the first layer twos that can also settle on Bitcoin. This is huge because we are onboarding already a huge community of people who started early on in the Web3 space and still are like Web3 OGs, have used BTC when it was very, very bad, and then kind of continued to work because of the ethos and stuff. So we are onboarding a huge group of people. And then couple of other interesting stuff like faster processing using parallelization, and already the cost is very cheap, so trying to make it much more cheaper. And recently, we also announced one of our ecosystem projects, Avnu. They announced the Paymaster feature, which is super exciting because we already have native account abstraction, wherein you can have features like social log. You can build features like social login, multisig, and all of that right off the bat. And now with Paymaster, then it becomes easier for games and stuff that if the DApp wants, they can pay the gas fees for you, and you can just have a seamless experience playing the game and stuff. So, lot of interesting stuff coming up in the month of August. We are also going to have a residency, Dojo residency. So, Dojo is a framework for gaming on Starknet, and they are going to have like an in-house residency for gamers, which I think is very, very important in Web3 because in Web3, people are building a lot of play to earn games, but games are actually not meant for earning. They are actually supposed to be for playing, right? Like you have a amazing game which has different levels with a lot of different logic, and it's a complexity in itself that keeps players hooked. And to build a good game, I think having mentors like that being able to sit with you for like a few weeks put together, and just helping you kind of build something that's going to last forever. I think Dojo's doing a great job by having the residency as well. So a lot of cool stuff in the ecosystem happening, and we are gonna see a lot of nice things unfold in the upcoming months.
Absolutely. Sounds all very exciting. By the way, I also like your nails when you were talking about Starknet and then Starknet logo just appeared like between. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, absolutely. And that's also what I like about Starknet, that all people are very welcoming. And if you have an interesting idea, you will for sure be recognized by that for that. So this is something that is not typical for other ecosystems, must say. And yeah, my personal experience with people from Starknet was absolutely positive. Everyone is super smart, thinking 2 steps ahead, building interesting things that have real use cases. So yeah, I'm super excited about all those new features and announcements that Starknet has, and yeah, super bullish for the next year. Nice.
Yes. Mhm.
Great. Yeah, and you've mentioned slightly your Phoenix Guild study group, I guess, like the company that you organize. So basically, I would like to move more into that direction, diversity and inclusion in Web3 space. Because I actually know Gyan from Women in Starknet study group, where I started studying Cairo smart contracts and how to use Cairo for that and how to build in Starknet. But I realized that I'm not yet at this level. However, right now, meeting Gyan in real life, I code now every day. I must say. So you've been a great motivator for that. And I hope I can rejoin the study group again when I will have more knowledge about code and programming. But yeah, basically, you've done incredible work in attracting women to the blockchain space through various groups like Women in Starknet, Women in Ethereum Protocol Study Group. I guess you're finished already the cohort one, or yeah. So you're onboarding for the cohort two, Phoenix Guild. So what inspired you to start these initiatives, and what impact you have seen so far?
Sure. So this is a great question because in very few Web3 context, people really do ask this, and there are few people who are actually working front and center in the diversity space, and I try my best to onboard as many people as possible because I think it's very important. I started working in the like diversity space is since almost 2015, 2014, 2015, when I've joined Women Who Code as one of the volunteers. And I worked a lot in the technology diversity space, like, getting more women, get into like just general tech stuff, whatever was up to date. I think back then it was a lot of FUD around machine learning. So used to do a lot of stuff around that. And in 2019, I actually joined Women Who Code as a fellow, and I started this community called Women Who Code Blockchain, which was an online community. And I used to do a lot of virtual workshops back then. Pandemic hit, we kind of continued a lot of virtual workshops and all of that. And I after my fellowship got ended in 2020, I still wanted to continue working. Like, I was just doing some ad hoc stuff, women I knew, getting them enrolled into stuff or helping them code in Solidity and stuff like that. And in 2022 is when we started the Phoenix Guild. So it was four of us. And from then on, like, we continue working on it. So the idea of the Phoenix Guild when we started in 2022 was to onboard more women via education, because I felt like there was a lot of diversity. There are still a lot of diversity groups there. But one of the barriers that you see, like at least what I saw in the technology space, even back then, is that you get a lot of women in the fresher space, right? Like, you see women who graduate from computer science and stuff, and they start working, and then they drop off. So they work for a year or two or three at max, and then they drop off, because like maternity hits and stuff like that. And even at that intersection of people who graduate from computer science and actually work in computer science is quite less. And we wanted to sort of like, these are the problems that I had already seen firsthand, and I kind of wanted to, it's in Web3, it's even more exaggerated because the computer science part, we don't see actually that many people who have even graduated from computer science. We see a lot of people who are curious to come into Web3. They go off on their own, they learn programming, and they want to then come and take up some roles in Web3, whether it is engineering, whether it is DevRel, or whether it is whatever, in whatever roles they are interested in. And one of the interesting things about Web3 is that irrespective of whatever role you take up, you need to know some piece of the technology. Otherwise, it is hard for you to perform your role to the best capacity possible, because unless you are able to explain to the other person why is it important to do this technology, like why is it important to work in this technology, whether you are BD, whether you are recruiter, for example, in your case, right, you have to be able to explain to the other person why this company is lucrative for them to join. And if you don't know what this company works on, then it's going to be a hard sell for you. So I felt like this gap was really huge. And I wanted to fulfill this gap. So we started doing a lot of educational stuff around. We do a lot of basics, introduction to Web3 kind of workshops, even now, because there is always audience for that who do not understand what the fundamentals of Web3 are. Like what happens when you actually bring a blockchain into a picture at a very core level. Like what are the changes that this can bring from an existing system, right? And then we started doing like boot camps. So in 2022, we did two Solidity boot camps. The first one was for all women. So we had 100 women apply to the boot camp, and we had about 40 of them who graduated. Actually, Bianca, who is DevRel Uni, I realize now that she was in one of the teams of the
Really?
first boot camp that we did. And we also had uh, Pauline, who works now as a DevRel with Mantle. A lot of good, really good folks. I think they were a part of our first Solidity bootcamp, from what I can remember. It was a while back. But it was fun, and I think it really opened up a lot of avenues for different people. And even for us to understand how we can kind of, and then from then onwards, we have been doing a lot of work. We used to do a lot of virtual stuff because back then, like, pandemic, things were still opening up. And now we do like IRL events and such, where we try to make the events more uh, friendly from a diversity perspective. We try to have panels that have like women representation, and we still try to do like hacker houses or events that are just exclusive for women. We don't do as many of like we try not to do as many of like other auxiliary kind of events, which don't have any element of education. We try to do some elements of education in all of the events that we do, because that's like the principle with which we started. One like very offbeat event which is non-educational that we do is like a all women's brunch during Eat India, because we want like women to come together and kind of have fun. And from there onwards, we have been also working with different protocols to do stuff like the Women in Starknet, which I lead, supported by the Phoenix Guild. Like they help me with the collaterals and stuff like that. And then Women in Ethereum protocol, again, like in collaboration with Phoenix Guild and HerdOw. And we are trying to work with different protocols as well to figure out, hey, can we set up like a women of whatever for you, and maybe have people from your community leading study groups, and then us kind of supporting them. So that's the idea. We definitely see the gap, and I think the most important thing beyond like anything and everything is education. If people are really good with fundamentals, like wherever they are based in the world, I think they have an opportunity in Web3 to do things that they like to do. But it's very important to have the fundamentals of the technology. Contrary to what people believe, it's not important to know everything about a particular protocol to actually work in that protocol, but it's very important to know what fundamentals of Web3 looks like and how that protocol solves certain problems. And I think that's like a good step for people to get started. So even from a DevRel or any other role perspective, I think that's very important. It's not important to be a developer. I think it's important to eventually learn development, because you will be working with developers. So you will not only be teaching them. This is the second part that no one talks about DevRel. You will have to debug for them, which is impossible if you don't know how to develop. So because debugging is much much harder than development. In development you do things from scratch. So even if you're a newbie, it's okay, you can do things from scratch. But in debugging, you're looking at existing piece of code in that technology, and you're helping other developers solve some problems. And that will come only if you're familiar with that technology. So having that knowledge, having that education is super important. So that's the gap that we are trying to fill, and hopefully, we won't have the need for these communities in the next couple of years, because everyone will hopefully be doing more stuff that's inclusive. So that's the dream. We'll see.
Yeah, it sounds awesome, and that's what I like about all your initiatives is education. I think that's as you mentioned, it's really important. Is there any other piece of advice you would like to give to women who are looking to enter the Web3 space, but may feel I don't know, uncomfortable or unsure where to start, maybe more on the motivational side?
Yeah, sure. I think first thing is like, don't wait to get into like a tutorial hellhole. I always say this to in all of my panels and stuff, because people there is so much documentation, there's so much stuff out there on YouTube, and it can be overwhelming. Just go through one technology, take some elements of it, and just start building. It's important for you to get your hands dirty, because this technology is new. So unless you really tinker around, play around, you won't know where you fit in that space. Do you fit as a product manager? Do you fit as a back end developer, front end developer, as a project manager? Do you fit as a business person? So whatever your role is, just pick up things and start working on it. A great way to do that is hackathons. You definitely get the time and space to tinker with new stuff during hackathons. And the second, the most underrated thing is ask questions. If you have a question, ask on Twitter, ask from people you are familiar with, who you feel comfortable are in your space. I'm sure as a Web3 person, you are a part of way too many TG groups than you should be. Ask in the TG groups, because that's what they are for, right? And people are, just for this point, asking questions, people are more willing to help than you think they are. Maybe they are busy, right? Maybe they are not available IRL to speak to you, or you are not able to meet them. They are not available for coffee, but they are always available to answer questions. So it might be like a day or two that they may take to respond, but they will respond to you. So always ask. Don't start working hands on. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and believe that people are there to help you. They are more than open to help you, and if they don't know the answer, they will connect you with someone. But don't hesitate to ask stuff. Like, I ask really stupid questions on Twitter sometimes, and I still end up getting like good answers. So uh, you never know. Like, take a chance.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was really motivational and something that can really kick your ass, and you should start working for sure. Great. So I think I'd like to talk more a little bit, like finish the interview with the personal insights and visions. So you're doing a lot of things. You are working as a full-time DevRel at Starknet. You are doing a lot of initiatives and study groups and communities. How do you balance your time between all of those roles, and also you have your personal life? So how do you survive in all of that?
Yeah, that's a question I get asked a lot. I'm really the wrong person to answer this question, because I mean, I do work a lot like over weekends and stuff, which I don't advise. I think one of the things is like most important is like prioritize. You have to prioritize between things that will give you money, like your job, and things that will give you satisfaction, like community work. Um, you have to try and do both of them. But if you feel like your work is taking over precedence, then find people in community who can fill your role. That is what I actively do. Like, I joke about it, but I literally actively want to make clones of me. Like, that means I want other women to become like me, so they can take up my role in the community. that's how we can scale. That's how we can have more women. Like, I can't be the only person doing study groups, bringing more women into the space. So that's why I say, like, hey, do other people want to do study groups? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And I would rather spend my time grooming these women, mentoring these women, than just hosting individual study groups, because I think that will give me like 10x, 100x return of my mission, which is wanting to get more women in the space.
Mm.
So yeah, you have to try stuff like that. I think to balance, really, you should also have an understanding team, manager, team lead. So my team lead is really understanding, and he does know that I'm passionate about like education. That's why I'm in this space. So he's willing to give me that space to do some community work, especially in the education space. And in a way, it also helps my Web3 role, right? Like if I'm doing a women in Starknet, which is after my work hours, it's still like I'm onboarding more women into Starknet. Like if I'm doing a women in Ethereum protocol, it's still onboarding more women into the Web3 space. So I think it's important to work with an organization that understands your passion, that understands your values, and that is open to supporting you. Like at the least, if they are not supporting you, they should not they should not demotivate you from doing these things. Hey, like, why are you doing these study groups? Like, if you have time to do a study group on Fridays in the evening, why don't you put that time into work? That's the kind of company that I'll never work with, because I think now I realize, like these are my values and this is what like I want to align with. So I would say, like, touchwood, I have like supportive family, I have a supportive team lead, and I have a supportive community as well. That if I'm not there a week, or if I'm not available, like they will be understanding enough to be like, hey, it's okay, like if you're not doing this study group this week, let's do it next week. So I think all of this put together really helps. And then for you to prioritize, like maybe some weeks it's work that's important. Like when I travel, I put all of my community efforts on hold because I just don't have the time, and I know it. If I commit to something, I want to make sure that I do it, and I automatically say that, hey, like let's do this after HCC. So having those like boundaries really helps, like in terms of when you want to prioritize what, and then being able to communicate that to that respective person, community, like team lead, etc., is also quite helpful. So yeah, I think some of these recipes work for me. I'm also not really perfect at this, but I think I'm becoming better. So yeah.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom around how balancing your time. And we have a couple of minutes late, so maybe a short piece of advice for those who is starting out in developer relations, particularly in Web3 space.
For me, I would say, like, I think just being able to learn new things, or being at least open to learn new things, because as a developer relations, you will be working with different people that will require you to adapt really quickly, and you will be working with different technologies that will also require you to adapt really quickly. So that is that. And then just be nice to people. Kindness doesn't hurt anyone, right? And it helps you have a better position in the community, not just for that, even just for yourself, like personally in your life. Like just be kind. That will take you a lot of places. So yeah, that's both the dev and the rel part sorted. So that's what I would say.
Perfect. Thank you very much for being here with me. It was really a big pleasure for me to learn more about you and your work as a DevRel and you as a woman in Web3, for sure.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Sophia. Thanks a lot.